Well, that certainly is something it seems the governor is considering, and I think that is something in the governor's purview to consider. It is not something I see within the constitutional responsibilities of the Attorney General. So I'm going to defer to Governor Bentley on that decision. As someone who has served a term in the legislature, I do know that we have to explore options on funding government. We can't simply defund agencies and expect the taxpayers to keep getting services. It doesn't work that way. So I trust Governor Bentley and his staff to work through these issues, and I intend to support them in whatever way they ask me to as Attorney General.
Well, that must be my opponent's position on this is a really odd, having been involved in politics and back to my days of supporting Jeff Sessions when he first ran and Bill Pryor, I've never really seen a situation, particularly in the Office of Attorney General, where you have one group that has a financial interest before the office, actually a pending lawsuit, spend so much money to try and elect someone who is committed to their agenda. And you know, and it goes back to the whole gambling issue, which is really what you raise. And I remind people, when I came into office, there was a lot of strife and turmoil around that issue. As you recall, and AL.com reported on it extensively between Governor Riley and my predecessor, Troy King. Executive Order number 1 of Governor Bentley was to terminate the governor's task force on illegal gambling and turn it over to the Attorney General, return it to the Attorney General's office. That gets back to the oath I have to uphold the law. So what we said was we're going to give everyone their day in court. We think we know what the law is. We think it's clear. We think the courts have already ruled that slot machines are illegal and what a slot machine is. But if you disagree, you'll have your day in court. Take the drama out of it, the raids and all that. And so that's what we've done. And we've given people their day in court. We've won every case that we've had that's gone up to the Supreme Court. The Indians are in a special category because they claim that they are on sovereign tribal land and they can do what they want. My position as Attorney General is, if we're going to have Indian gambling, we need to make sure we know what the rules are. They don't pay taxes. They operate huge casinos. They advertise them as casinos, but they operate in casinos in a state that prohibits slot machines. So as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer, my only choice is to say, I don't agree with your position, but we'll give you your day in court. And we've done that. So it's pretty extraordinary to see not only them give 75% of my opponent's money to them to run attack ads against me, but for him to take it, because it really, frankly, puts my opponent, Mr. Hubbard, in a totally compromised position where he's taken essentially all of his fundraising. If it's not from the Poarch Creek Indians, it's from Stan Pate, who has gambling interest in Greene County, all gambling interest money. And I just think that's inappropriate. I get it. I understand that they don't like having to defend themselves in court. But again, I'm doing my duty. And if the courts say they have the right to do that, then that'll be the final determination of the issue. What will ensure continued controversy of all these issues is putting an Attorney General in office who's beholden to the gambling interest, who then starts playing politics with the issue instead of sticking with the law. And it's clear that's the path Mr. Hubbard's gone down. He has no qualms in taking all of his money from one group. I just don't think the people of Alabama have any interest in having their AG beholden to one group like that. Imagine if all of my funding came from BP, for example. I mean, that's the message I get back from the voters that I talk to. They just don't like that. It just doesn't pass the smell test, if you will.
No.
You want to expand on that a bit for me?
I don't see any situation in which I will have to make any decisions in an official capacity as Attorney General that would affect the Poarch Creek. I know my opponent has raised this lawsuit he has filed against them, but keep in mind, this lawsuit is not currently in play. A federal judge has already dismissed the lawsuit and called it a dead-end lawsuit. Now, the fact that the Attorney General wants to keep wasting tax money to perpetuate a political witch hunt, that's out of my control. But I side with the federal judge because I think he understands federal law a little bit better than Luther Strange.
I meant to answer it this way. Maybe I wasn't totally clear. I don't think you can get to that point of having a compact until you establish what they're doing is legal or illegal. In other words, if the courts come back and say, Mr. Attorney General, you're just wrong, their sovereign territory, and you may think you're right, but the courts, we follow the court's ruling. Then the governor and the legislature are free to say, that issue was decided. The Attorney General got us an answer, that's what we wanted, now we can have that negotiation. If you come in and never determine the issue, they say it's legal, I say it's not. In that kind of environment, I don't think it would even be possible to even have that discussion about a compact.
Do you think Alabama could devise a compact that would end up being part of what amounts to an agreement to settle the ongoing?
You know, I don't know. I've never gotten any indication that that's what, as far as I know, nobody's given that any thought. I just want people to comply with the law. You know, again, people, I think my opponent talks about little old ladies being kicked out of, I think that kind of reflects his view of, there's some laws I kind of like and some laws I don't like. I'm going to enforce these laws, but these laws are just bothering people that are just minding their own business. I'm not going to enforce them. That's what they do in Washington. That's what Eric Holder has done too many times. And that's just not the way our legal system works. If you want to have a casino on every corner, you can have that, but you have to vote for it, and the law has to be clear. And so that's the issue. And I know it's a complicated issue. People are tired of it. I didn't volunteer for it. It was Executive Order #1. It's just another part of doing, my duty.